You feel it before you decide to do it. Your hand moves towards your phone. You don't remember picking it up. There was no buzz, no notification, no real reason. Your thumb just knew where to go, the way it always does, dozens of times an hour, every single day. You tell yourself you're checking for something important, but the truth is far stranger than that. The urge living in your hand right now is not new. It did not arrive with the smartphone. It is older than agriculture, older than language, older than the modern human brain itself. To understand why you can't put the phone down, you have to go back. Not to the last decade, not even to the last century. You have to go back roughly 2 million years to a version of you crouched in tall grass, scanning the horizon for something that might feed you or something that might eat you. That version of you didn't have Instagram, but it had the exact same circuitry now, lighting up every time your screen turns on. Here's the strange part. Your brain was never built to reward you for finding food, finding danger, or finding information. It was built to reward you for looking. The seeking itself is the prize. Neuroscientist Kent Berridge spent decades studying this distinction, splitting motivation into two separate systems inside the brain: wanting and liking. Wanting is the chemical pull that drags you towards something. Liking is the pleasure you feel once you actually have it. Berridge's research found that these two systems don't always agree with each other. You can want something intensely and barely enjoy it once it arrives. Sound familiar? That gap between wanting and liking is exactly where your phone lives. Think about the last time you opened an app for no reason at all. You weren't looking for anything specific, you were just checking. That checking behavior has a name in psychology, and it traces back to a researcher who never saw a smartphone in his life. B.F. Skinner ran experiments in the 1950s using pigeons and a lever inside a box. When the lever delivered food every single time it was pressed, the pigeons pressed it occasionally, calmly, without much urgency. But when Skinner changed the lever to deliver food at random, unpredictable intervals, something shifted. The pigeons pressed the lever obsessively. They couldn't stop. Skinner called this pattern a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, meaning the reward comes after an unpredictable number of attempts rather than a fixed one. It remains one of the most powerful behavioral patterns ever documented in a laboratory. Not knowing when the reward is coming makes you chase it harder than knowing it's coming at all. Your phone runs on that exact schedule. Sometimes there's a message. Sometimes there's nothing. You never know which one you're about to get, so you keep pulling the lever anyway. Slot machine designers have known this for decades, which is why the most profitable machines on a casino floor are never the ones that pay out on a predictable rhythm. The same unpredictability sits quietly behind every pull to refresh gesture and every notification badge on your screen. But why would evolution build a brain this easy to hijack? Wouldn't it make more sense to reward certainty over uncertainty? Not if you were a forager. For most of human history, food didn't arrive on a predictable schedule. You walked, you searched, you checked one bush, then another, never knowing which one would have ripe fruit and which one would have nothing at all. Researchers studying this exact pattern of behavior, including cognitive scientist Peter Paroli, described it through a framework called information foraging theory. The idea is simple once you see it. Your brain treats information the same way it once treated food. It calculates instinctively and completely unconsciously whether the next check is worth the effort it costs. A new patch of berries might be just over the next hill. A new piece of information might be just one more scroll away. Your brain doesn't actually know the difference between a bush and a feed. It only knows that checking sometimes pays off, and that alone is enough to keep you checking. This is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. The notification on your phone is not competing with your willpower. It's competing with 2 million years of foraging instinct that kept your ancestors alive long enough to have you. You are not weak for struggling to put the phone down. You are running ancient software, optimized for survival in an environment that no longer exists anywhere on Earth. There's a deeper layer underneath all of this too. Humans are an unusually social species, and that sociability comes with built-in vigilance. Psychologist John Cacioppo studied this for years, focusing on how the human brain monitors for social threat and social opportunity almost constantly. often outside of conscious awareness entirely. In ancestral environments, knowing your standing within the group wasn't optional. It was frequently the difference between protection and exile, between safety and starvation. A person cut off from the group didn't just feel sad. They were, in a very literal sense, less likely to survive the season. So your brain evolved to ask one question over and over, quietly, in the background. Am I still accepted here? Am I still safe within this group? That question never fully turns off. It just goes looking for new ways to be answered. Now look at what's sitting in your pocket. A device that can answer that exact question instantly, dozens of times a day, with a like, a reply, a read receipt, a message that simply says, "You up?" You are not checking your phone because you're addicted to technology in some vague, modern sense. You are checking it because some ancient part of your brain is still asking the oldest question your species has ever learned to ask. Am I still in the tribe? Here's the twist most people miss entirely. The discomfort you feel when you haven't checked your phone in a while isn't really about missing information. It's about uncertainty itself. Researchers studying how the brain responds to ambiguous situations have repeatedly found that unresolved, open-ended uncertainty activates stress responses more strongly than situations with a clearly bad outcome. A bad outcome, at least, can be processed and filed away. An open question cannot. An unread message sitting in your notification bar isn't neutral to your nervous system at all. It's an open loop your brain is desperate to close. So you check, not because you're weak, but because closing that loop is wired into you at a level far below conscious choice. This is also why putting your phone in another room tends to work better than simply trying not to look at it. You're not fighting a craving with logic, and logic rarely wins that particular fight. You're removing the cue that triggers an ancient seeking circuit before that circuit ever gets the chance to fire in the first place. Think about what this means for how you actually live, day to day. Every time you feel that small itch to check, to scroll, to refresh, you are not malfunctioning. You are behaving exactly the way a forager would behave inside an environment soaked in unpredictable, intermittent rewards. The problem isn't that your brain is broken. The problem is that the environment around it changed far faster than any brain could ever evolve to keep up with. 2 million years built the instinct. 15 years built the trap that uses it. It shows up in small ways you've probably never thought twice about. The way your stomach tightens slightly when you send a message and watch 3 dots appear, then disappear, then appear again. The way a single notification can pull your attention away from a conversation with someone sitting right in front of you. The way an evening of scrolling can leave you feeling oddly empty, even though you spent the entire time doing something. None of that is a personal failing. It's a forager's brain, doing exactly what foragers' brains have always done, just pointed at a screen instead of a horizon. Notice, too, how little of this requires you to actually want the thing you find. You open the app. You scroll past dozens of posts you don't care about. You close it, slightly dissatisfied, and within the hour, you open it again. That pattern only makes sense once you remember Barrage's split between wanting and liking. The wanting system fires the moment your thumb reaches for the screen, well before any reward has even appeared. It doesn't need a payoff to activate. It only needs the possibility of one. Your ancestors felt this same pull walking toward an unfamiliar ridgeline, not knowing whether it hid food, water, or nothing at all. The walking itself was driven by the same chemistry now driving your scroll. The people who design the apps on your phone understand this far better than most users ever will. Infinite scroll removes the natural stopping point that a printed page or a finished television episode used to provide. The pull to refresh gesture, now familiar on nearly every platform, was deliberately modeled on the same mechanical action as a slot machine lever. The small red badge on your app icon isn't decoration. It's a deliberately engineered open loop, sitting on your home screen, quietly recreating the exact uncertainty Skinner's pigeons responded to in his laboratory 70 years ago. None of this had to be invented from scratch. It only had to borrow instincts that were already sitting inside you, fully formed, waiting for the right trigger. Consider, too, what happens physiologically in the seconds before you check. Researchers studying anticipation have found that dopamine activity often peaks before a reward arrives, not after, which is part of why Barrage separated wanting from liking in the first place. That means the most intense part of the entire experience may already be over by the time you've actually unlocked your phone and read the message. The relief you feel afterward is real, but it's smaller than the anticipation that preceded it. This is precisely why checking your phone so rarely feels as satisfying as the urge to check it promised it would be. You're not failing to enjoy your phone correctly. You're experiencing exactly what the wanting system was built to produce. A pull stronger than the payoff that follows it. Step back far enough, and the whole pattern starts to look less like a personal habit and more like an inherited one. The forager who checked one more bush, the early human who glanced one more time at the tree line, the version of you who refreshes one more time before bed. These are not three different behaviors. They are the same behavior, running on the same circuitry, simply pointed at different objects across an enormous stretch of time. Nothing about your brain has changed in the last 15 years. Only the target has. Your ancestors checked the horizon because their lives depended on it. You check a screen because something deep inside you still believes, on some primitive level, that it might. And maybe that's the most human thing about it. Not weakness, not addiction in the simple way you've probably been told to think about it. Just an old, patient survival instinct doing exactly what it was built to do in a world it was never designed for. You feel it before you decide to do it. Your hand moves toward your phone, but now you know exactly why. If this changed how you think about your own habits, you're not alone. Every video on this channel works the same way. Something you do without thinking, traced back to where it actually came from. Subscribe if you want to keep noticing things like this. And if someone in your life checks their phone exactly like you do, send them this. They'll probably recognize themselves immediately.